Well, let's take a look at some Thor Love and Thunder plot leaks. Because I don't give a crap. I have no plans to see this one in theaters after the Doctor Strange film was so underwhelming. And there was a lot of elements about this Thor film that turned me off from the get-go. Because it was just going to immediately jump ahead and follow the narratives of recent Marvel comics with Lady Thor and all that stuff. And for its reasons for it. Could you get an interesting story out of that? Yes, you could. Did they? No. Marvel Comics has long since been nothing more than bigoted political campaign pamphlets. And that's it. Superhero stories either take a back seat or aren't there at all. And it's not always the case. Every now and then you'll find something. But it's few and far between. That being said, some of the elements of when they use plot lines from that idiot era of Marvel Comics, the movies tend to do a better job at it. Case in point, the Miss Marvel series is actually pretty good. So having looked over these plots, that might be the case here for this one as well. There's just a lot of problems with it. Thor Ragnarok was a big hit. I understood why it was, but it's not the Thor that I wanted to see. I liked the first two, even the second one. Everybody, you're supposed to hate that one. I don't. The third one, Ragnarok, it has elements in it, that's in keeping with it. But it's one of those where they immediately decide that the secret sauce to the MCU is silly comedy hijinks where everything is mocked and torn apart. And there's a big argument for that. But Ragnarok was really, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. That's what it is, the formula of Guardians of the Galaxy, which was very, very popular. It didn't wow me, but a lot of people really liked that. And so Taika Waititi just ripped off James Gunn the whole templates for Ragnarok, and that was it. And Ragnarok in and of itself, I don't hate it. There's some things, it got a chuckle out of me here and there. And there's some cool, certainly great nods to Jack Kirby there, which is what the Eternals should have been. The funny stuff between the Thor and Hulk, and which is a nod to Planet Hulk and stuff like, so it's got its positives in it, and there's fun in it. There's stupid political stuff with what they did with the Valkyrie character. When you're a comic book guy, the bias is already there. So it's hard to look away from that when it's just so blatant and obvious of what they're doing there for superficial nonsense, which I absolutely cannot stand. So it's hard to get over that. But the interesting thing about it, though, is that he has his big victory after, and then Infinity War, it goes into it. As good as that movie is, what becomes of Thor, and then of course in Endgame, he's just absolutely destroyed. The weird thing about it is that he has this devastating moment where Thanos just wipes out all his people, kills Loki in front of him, and he's crushed and destroyed. And of course he's bent on revenge, and it's a good narrative for him. That's a good Thor story. And he meets the Guardians, and he's just a silly comedic character again. It's and that's in the key. That's the mistake with stuff like that. There's a place for it, but it doesn't always work. And that's on how they characterize Thor. It's not on the Guardians or Rocket or anything. In fact, Rocket had more touching scenes. So you're stumbling around and quick jokes. It's one of the low points of an otherwise excellent, really, the finish. I mean, Endgame doesn't measure up to Infinity War. Infinity War Pretty much that's kind of the end of the MCU right there, you know, as far as it could. You get a bright spot like Spider-Man, but that appears to be it. The movies since then have been pretty bad, and Doctor Strange was my big hope, and that one failed. It's not completely awful. There were things I expected, and I guess they fixed it in the reshoots, but just pretty lackluster, you know, and it was just such a letdown. So maybe Thor is just better, you know, even though I have no excitement for it, and I'll probably be a while for it if I ever see it. But anyway, these plot leaks have leaked, and I think they're pretty credible based on what I've seen and heard and what it measures up with images and teasers and trailers and whatnot. So anyway, let's see. So this is Bounding into Comics, and some Reddit post called Marvel Studios spoilers. Okay, well, we'll see. As part of these leaks, Taika Waititi helmed film begins with Thor on a mission with the Guardians of the Galaxy, but after receiving a distress call from Sif, they drop him off at something of a rehab center where he finds himself reunited with Korg. So I guess that's where they showed the scenes where he's exercising to get rid of the gut. So maybe that's the deal. I don't know. So anyway, responding to the call, Thor finds Sif badly wounded, having just lost a battle against Gore, the God Butcher. So anyway, there's the Guardians. There he is in his stupid, I don't know, vest, whatever. So there's Batman as Gore. Gore, she tells Thor, is searching for the god Eternity after he lost his family because he wants them back. Finding no answer to his questions during his quest and being met with indifference by the various gods he sought counsel with, Gore eventually found the all black, the Necro Sword, a blade capable of slaying gods, and thereafter swore to kill them all. So, right off the bat, here's a problem. I mean, I don't know if it's suggesting that that's the only way to kill a god. I don't know what powers Gore has. I'm not too familiar with the character. But Thanos killed a god pretty easily. He just strangled Loki to death. So, do you really need a Necro Sword? But he's got a Necro Sword, so. Meanwhile, Jane Foster, who, like her comic book counterpart, is confirmed to have cancer, visits New Asgard. Upon her arrival to seaside town, Mjolnir, still shattered from Thor's confrontation with Hela and Thor Ragnarok, reassembles itself after sensing Jane's presence in order to bestow upon her the power of Thor. Well, now, why didn't it do that for Thor himself? You know? It's just Mjolnir has feelings for Jane as well and said, I'm going to help her out. I don't know. So now the Thor's power makes her body strong and healthy again as long as she's using that form. We'll just stay as Thor then. But it drains her in her human form and makes her cancer worse. Well, never change back. There you go. Following a meetup between the film's principal cast in New Asgard, as seen in most of its publicly released teaser material, Thor and company are met by Gore, who proceeds to kidnap a number of Asgardian children. The team then depart for Omnipotent City. Shouldn't that be like Olympus? Well, anyway, to warn Zeus about Gore's plans and ask him for help in stopping the God Butcher's planned massacre. Unfortunately for the team, upon their arrival, Zeus refuses to provide them aid and takes to attacking them instead. So there's Russell Crowe as Zeus with, all his girlfriends. And, man, this is the thing, because I have a character who has, a lightning bolt to use. And, damn. Well, I don't know. I'll have to think of something else. Anyway, in the process, the Olympian patriarch heavily wounds Korg, prompting Thor to fly into a rage and attack Zeus with his own lightning, which Valkyrie then takes for her own. So I guess she takes one of Zeus's thunderbolts and fights Gore in this scene. Yeah. But, so I guess that's why Thor ends up getting captured and stripped naked so you can see his ass in the movie. So there you go. Meanwhile, the movie then presents what is presumably meant to be its emotional crux, as Thor then realizes Jane has cancer and the Thor form is killing her. He asks her to stop, but she wants to help, explains the Initial League, and admits that being Thor is an escape to her from her sad reality. Well, yeah, she's going to die anyway. What the hell, you know? And besides, again, maybe there's an explanation as to why she can't just stay as Lady Thor forever. That way she never dies of cancer. There must be some trick to it. And she'll lose her CGI arms and everything. But, so anyway, there they are, having a romantic moment. Stealing themselves, the team then moves to confront Gore and save his kidnapped victims, traveling to the Shadow Realm to meet him face to face. However, upon their arrival, Gore reveals that his kidnapping of the children was nothing more than an elaborate ploy to help him get his hands on Stormbreaker. So, he needs Stormbreaker more than the Necro Sword, I guess. Taking Thor's second hammer for himself, Gore then, well, so I guess he's worthy of it? I don't know. Gore then uses Stormbreaker to open a pathway to eternity. So I guess they'll actually have that character there where he's just this big silhouette of space and stuff. You know, if you know that. Well, never mind. Intent on killing him with the Necro. So he's going to kill eternity, who is a representation of eternity. If you kill eternity, then the whole universe dies. So, Anyway, finding himself overpowered, Thor then shares his power with the kidnapped children, granting them the power to fight at his side. Joined by Jane, the Thor Corps eventually defeats Gore and destroys the Necro Sword. Though in the process, Jane destroys Mjolnir once again to stop Gore, and she dies. So that's the deal. I guess she could have stayed Lady Thor forever, but in order to stop Gore, the Mjolnir gets shattered, and without it, she can't be Thor. So she turns back into Jane and dies. Yeah. So, touched by her sacrifice, Gore not only admits defeat, but also that all he truly wanted was not to kill the gods, but to bring his daughter, Love, back to life. So his daughter's name Love. Well, that's sweet. So all that slaughter he'd been doing, but Jane somehow convinces him, you know, I was wrong all along. They never have, well, I guess they've had a few villains who are just villains, but they don't have sympathetic stories or whatever. Anyway, taking heed of Gore's request, Eternity revives Love, and as Gore himself begins to fade due to the effects of the Necro Sword, oh boy, that's tough, huh? He asks Thor to take care of her. So, I don't know, I guess, is Love like a little girl or something? So Thor's now got a daughter to deal with. Anyway, as the movie draws to a close, Valkyrie and Sif can be seen training the Thor Corps children in the use of their new powers. So I guess Valkyrie's going to put the moves on Sif, and they'll be a couple, yeah, so that she can have her queen. See, that's the kind of crap that just takes you right out of the movie. But anyway, while Thor, once again in possession of Mjolnir, though neither of the leaks explain how it's reassembled following Jane's sacrifice. Well, I guess he just didn't realize, oh, I could have done that all along, and so he just reaches for it and it comes back together. Probably something like that. So then he passes Stormbreaker. Oh, boy, that's going to hurt. Oh, you mean gives it over to Love and takes her under his wing. So now Love will be the new Lady Thor, I guess. I don't know. But she's got Stormbreaker now. So anyway, in the film's post-credits scene, Zeus, angry that humans now revere superheroes more than gods, boy, is he late to the table, huh? Orders his son Hercules to kill Thor. Well, Thor's a god and a superhero, so you could just do that, which is probably how that'll be settled. So does this mean that there'll be a Thor 5? I don't know. So Hercules, who's gay now, so there's that. In his in its second teaser, Heimdall, having died from his encounter with Thanos in Avengers Infinity War, welcomes Jane to Valhalla. So yeah, Jane actually I think that's how they resolved all of that after she died. She comes back as a Valkyrie. So in a roundabout way, it would just be Jane to have another Valkyrie. I don't know if they'll put her on the Defenders, led by Doctor Strange. No, they're not going to do any of that. So anyway, there you go. So I just spoiled it for you if you're going to go see Love and Thunder. doesn't sound that awful of a story. And once again, just the tidbits, it sounds a little better than how the comics did it. But it's not enough to interest me that I got to make time to go see it. So, well, anyway, best of luck to them. But so far, yeah, this probably is better than Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. But nowhere, it's not going to be anywhere near as great as the Spider-Man movie. And probably, yes, better than all the other crappy Marvel movies that we've had for Phase 4. But that's not really saying much. Spider-Man is like a set apart. That's just the way it is. For the rest of these, yeah, it's probably Thor's the one that beats them all. But it's got an uphill battle because it's got the stench of Disney on it now. For other reasons. Anyway, there you go. Love and Thunder.